Lakers beat the Jazz last night 106-101, but they lose Anthony Davis to an ankle injury for a 2-week period minimum. The Lakers are now ninth in the West at 27-31. This team has had injury struggles, chemistry struggles, and I think people think there's dysfunction in the locker room and on the court. I also think there's dysfunction in the front office. So going forward, if you're a Laker fan, put on your GM hat. What do you do with this roster going forward when you're entrusted to bring this team forward into the future? Do you continue to go all in on right now, or do you make moves for the future? That's my question today about the Los Angeles Lakers. We're going to talk MVP candidates. I'm going to give you my 6 MVP candidates, my top 6, in no order except for number 1 right now, and that's Joel Embiid. After that, it's fluid. It's the NBA Cypher. Let's go. If you're Rob Pelinka, what do? What are your options? You've got one of the greatest players in the game in LeBron James, still playing at a high level offensively at age 37 in his 19th season. LeBron's giving you 29 points, 8 rebounds, 6 assists, shooting 50% from the field, another 35% from 3, and his effective field goal rating, 58%. You've got Anthony Davis, one of the most talented big men in all the NBA, can impact the game on both ends of the floor. Davis is 28. He'll be 29 next season, but he is injury prone. And as a number 2 option, his intensity, his motor kind of wavers. And then you have Russell Westbrook, who I guarantee you, anybody would guarantee you, is going to opt in to that $47 million. So Russ will be a Laker. This is an older roster. There are some young, talented players who have earned the right to get more minutes. I like what Monk has done this season. His ability to beat people off the dribble, take and make big shots. I think Malik Monk can be a starter. Granted, he's point guard size with a 2 guards game, but the way the NBA is now, you can cover that up with cross matchups. I like what Austin Reeves can give you as a rotation player. But beyond that, this is an older roster, and I would have to think that most of these guys, they won't be part of this roster next year. So whether you can move Russ or not, in terms of depth, in terms of getting more playmakers, the roster will change one way or another. It just depends on the level of talent Pelinka and company are able to bring in. But here's the thing. The Lakers don't have any cap space. And with Russ opting in, they're maxed out. The question will be, and I've talked about this actually last season, at what point do the Lakers as an organization realize in the LeBron James era, we might just get the one title, but you'll take that one title. Yes, you sacrifice some young talent, some picks. It was about winning titles. It always is when it's the Lakers. But right now, because Anthony Davis is still in his prime and still has high value, would it not be wise for Rob Pelinka and company to at least think about the possibility of moving Anthony Davis to bring back some younger talent, to bring back more depth, or maybe even go all in the other way? Because when you have LeBron, you sacrifice your future. It's just what it is. But maybe this time around, this franchise might do the unthinkable. Not just move Anthony Davis, but go all in. Consider maybe moving LeBron James. And I know Laker Nation will go, why would you do that? That's crazy. Every run comes to the end. And then the truth of the matter is this Laker team, I wouldn't say they've had a run. They've had one title. They've had a title run. But in terms of them being a dynasty or anything like that, it hasn't come to fruition. It just hasn't happened. They had that one season, they won the title in the bubble against the Heat, and they deserve all the credit for doing that. But since then, or even before that and after that, it's been a struggle. There's been injuries, there's been struggles with the rotation. And I think going forward, the Lakers really, they don't want to use the word, they never use the word rebuild. I think the closest the Lakers came to ever actually rebuilding was when they had Lonzo Ball and Brandon Ingram, and for a short time, Julius Randle. Don't forget a talented, solid player like Josh Hart. They had a lot of talented young players. But once you bring in LeBron, LeBron's not trying to wait for you to develop. So what happens? They get Anthony Davis. They trade away all those young players and picks. And guess what? They win the title. That has been the Laker way ever since I've been a Laker fan. They don't get better by drafting and developing players. They usually improve off of making blockbuster trades. And they almost never get better by getting the top free agents. And since I've been a Laker fan, the top free agents that the Lakers have gotten, they've been Shaq and LeBron. But in between those two, they did not get any of the top free agents. If they improved, it was through trades. I'm saying that to say the most obvious thing. They're in another situation. You can try to reload around Anthony Davis and LeBron James, who will be age 38, year 20. And I'm sure, look, offensively, he's probably still going to be a top 5, top 6 player. I'm not debating that. In terms of longevity, in terms of playing at a high level this deep into his career, he doesn't have an equal, point blank. But we're talking about winning titles or competing for titles. Can the Lakers retool around LeBron and Anthony Davis, along with Russ, because Russ isn't going anywhere? And Russ has a role. We've talked about this. What did he do against Golden State? What he did last night with the Jazz? That is the role I think Russell Westbrook can give the Lakers going forward. That's what he can be within their scheme. He can be in that dunker's position. He can dive off the ball. I would actually argue that while he has improved moving off the ball, he can improve even better. Every time Russ gives up the rock and LeBron has the ball on the right wing, he should instantly cut. Always. I don't care if you cut and he doesn't pass it to you. Just cut to make the defense move and then cut again. If Russ learns to keep himself moving, a la Golden State, where bodies are constantly moving along with the ball, if he just moves off the ball, he's still athletic enough to be able to finish around the basket. That's his role. But I digress. This is about their future. And I really think that they're going to have to do something that maybe they wanted to put off for another 2 or 3 years. They're really going to have to consider, at a minimum, moving Anthony Davis. And maybe, depending on the team you make this deal with, this potential deal, if you really want to get off of Russ's contract, maybe you get a third team involved and you can move Russ with Anthony Davis. I just think that this run with these two superstars, and granted, healthy, most people would say Anthony and LeBron, Anthony Davis and LeBron, we're still talking 2 of the top 10 players easy. LeBron's still top 5 or 6 to me offensively. I still have him in the top 5 in general. I think AD is top 10. He kind of wavers between, let's say, 10 and as high as 5 or 3. But this particular season, he's been very good at times and he struggled at times. I just think that if you're the Los Angeles Lakers, with what has happened the last couple of seasons, it might be time to do something dynamic. And I know bringing in Russ, that was dynamic and it looked great on paper to a lot of people. and a lot of people didn't like it at all. I always took the approach, wait and see. I had no idea how it would turn out. It hasn't turned out great, but I want to remind everybody, the Lakers are a bad team not because Russell Westbrook. They're a bad team across the board as a team. They don't defend well. They're terrible in transition defense. They're streaky when it comes to shooting from the three-point line. There are chemistry issues across the board, and they do not have an offensive identity. You don't know what the Lakers are going to do from game to game. Now, that could be put on Frank Vogel to a degree. The makeup of the roster, yes, that's Rob Pelinka. But I think that if Rob Pelinka did not make a move during the trade deadline, clearly he had the blessing of the higher-ups. He put out a statement after the trade deadline, me, LeBron James, and Anthony Davis, we're on the same page. We're all in line. Because most people thought they were going to trade one of those future number one picks to try to bring in some talent that can help them right now. That's always been the formula. With LeBron more than most superstars, hey, we're about right now. And that didn't happen. So when he made that statement, I thought it was interesting that LeBron made a statement saying, basically, that's not true. We're not all on the same page. So there is dysfunction with your superstar and your front office, and that's not good. And your superstar will be 38 next year. And your other star, who's 28, will be 29. But I would argue that the way that he seems to break down from time to time, Anthony Davis physically might feel or seem older than LeBron James. And while he has played well for the Lakers, I'm talking about Melo. Melo will be 38. And I'm not saying that they couldn't still bring him off the bench in spot moments, maybe lessen his minutes. He's playing about 27 minutes a game, maybe bring that down to 20. I don't know if he would be interested in his role being cut that much. But I think with the emergence of Monk, with the emergence of Reeves, along with a solid player like Stanley Johnson, yes, Melo's minutes would be cut. This Laker team, they have question marks going forward for the rest of this season. But I think they even have more question marks in the offseason. So, this is my question again. If you were the Lakers GM, would you consider trading one or both, and I'm talking Anthony Davis or LeBron James? So here it is, guys. These are my top 6 candidates for NBA MVP. I've got Ja Morant. Ja Morant's got the Grizz in the 3rd spot in the West. He's averaging 27 points a game, 7 assists, 6 rebounds, shooting 49% from the field, 33% from 3. And I think that every time you watch Ja, he adds something else to his game. He's a lot more than a slasher or a guy that shatters the rim. I like his float game. I like the way he plays with pace. And I like the way that he's extended his range. I think Ja Morant is going to be a problem going forward. And the fact that he's extending his range this early in his career, that just shows you he stays in the lab. Then you've got DeMar DeRozan. DeRozan comes in at age 32, and he's having his best season of his career. 28 points a game, 5 rebounds, 5 assists, 51% from the field, 34 from 3, and 86 from the line. I know a lot of people say that he's kind of a relic because he doesn't shoot the 3 a lot. I would disagree with that. He's a bucket getter, and his superpower is his ability to get to the foul line. He is one of those scorers that even when he's not having a good shooting night, he can generate offense because he can get to the foul line 10 to 12 times a game. Much love to DeMar DeRozan. Then there's Nikola Jokic, the defending, reigning MVP. And the Joker's season this year is as good as last year. 26 points a game, 14 rebounds, 8 assists, 57% from the field, 37 from 3, 80 from the line, crazy PER, 32.6. And he's carrying the Nuggets. He has them in the 5th spot, minus his 2nd and 3rd best players. So yes, the Joker's going to be a problem going forward in the MVP race. Then you've got the Greek Freak. You've got Giannis.